I've done most of the things I need to
The third day of UC Berkeley's strike to protest a 32% increase in student fees saw an escalation in student actions and an increase in turnout. 43 students occupied a section of Wheeler Hall Friday morning. 3 of the occupiers were arrested early in the morning on charges of felony burglary, though they were later reduced to misdemeanor trespassing charges. Crowds of students came to support the occupiers as police formed a line around the building. Students evacuated buildings due to pulled fire alarms, causing the crowds to swell.
Well, I think it's very important, like the cause that we're doing right now. I'm actually in an ethnic studies class, and we're learning a lot about like student movements and like how important it is to just go out and voice out that like we're not powerless, that we have like a voice in our own education. And this is also very important for me because I'm actually not really getting any financial aid, and it sucks that like my parents are working so hard and they have to work even harder, and I have to work harder even after school to be able to pay for my education. And I mean, it's unfair. Like, it's supposed to be public education, and it's just like what's going on with the system right now. And I think it's very important that everyone's out here, even though it's raining. Like, it's just showing how much more important it is to us.
The two forces clashed as the day went on, with police striking numerous protesters with batons and allegedly shooting students with beanbag guns.
We are consistently hearing shouts like from the protesters like, we're non-violent, how about you, and stuff like that. Because this is supposed to be a non-violent protest, and the police are wearing riot gear with armor, and they're carrying guns, and it's very scary for a lot of these folks out here who are just trying to exercise their right to free speech on this campus. The administration has not ever even come to the negotiating table until students stood up and sat down in the second floor of Wheeler Hall, and that's why we're here today.
Generally, I think it's disheartening that there's so many riot police out there, and that they feel the need to, use an abusive amount of force almost. I think it's a big waste of tax money to have this amount of cops out there for a simple sit-in that could be ended a lot easier than the way they're trying to end everything.
The occupiers had 4 demands: that 38 laid-off custodians be rehired, that the current occupants of the Bears Lair food court have their leases renewed, and that the Rochdale Co-op have its lease renewed indefinitely, as well as amnesty for the 3 arrested in the morning. Faculty and student government representatives joined the protesters outside in hopes to open lines of communication with the occupiers and to prevent police brutality. Robert Dudley, a professor of integrative biology, was arrested for resisting/obstructing police in the afternoon. Professor Ananya Roy was among the group that opened talks with the occupiers. Talks reached a standstill almost immediately when the occupiers and the police could not reach an agreement on how to hold negotiations of demands.
To the best of my knowledge, there were very limited, if any, discussions. There was really an all-or-nothing position that was taken vis-a-vis their demands, and we didn't have the ability or the inclination to meet those demands, particularly under duress.
Police arrested the occupants at 5 p.m. Following that, faculty and members of student government held an impromptu meeting with Chancellor Bergeneau, UCPD Police Chief Mitch Zelaya, and Executive Vice Chancellor Breslauer. The decision was made at the meeting to charge the occupants with misdemeanor trespassing and then release them into the crowd.
The deal that was struck is that they are going to be cited with a misdemeanor for trespassing, which is fairly minor, and they will be allowed to walk out on their own accord, not in handcuffs, and be released from the building.
They'll be escorted out by the police.
Sorry, escorted out by the police?
They'll be escorted out by the police to the barricade lines, and they're asking that everybody sit down and be peaceful. I just hope that everything is really peaceful right now, because the last thing on earth that we want is violence.
I think everyone, the police, the administrators, everyone who was in that conversation has the safety of students as the utmost concern. I think this is the most peaceful way to resolve this.
You know, it's an unfortunate situation. Nobody wanted to raise fees. The state has disinvested in the university this year by 20% less money than we had last, and it's an untenable situation.